Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something tonight that a lot of people don't understand, especially men. When a man rejects you, when he pulls back, when he acts like you don't matter anymore, he is expecting one thing from you. He is expecting noise. He is expecting tears. He is expecting long messages, explanations, late night calls, questions like, why? And what did I do wrong? Because that's how he measures his value. That's how he confirms his power. Silence is not weakness, it is self-respect in action. When a woman chooses silence after rejection, she is not giving up. She is standing up for herself in the most powerful way possible. See, weakness is begging someone to see your value when they've already decided not to. Weakness is explaining yourself to someone who isn't listening, but silence. Silence is confidence. Silence says, I know who I am, and I don't need to perform to be chosen. A man expects emotion after rejection. He expects questions, reactions, maybe even tears, because those reactions reassure him that he still matters, that he still has influence over your feelings. But when you give him silence, you remove that reassurance. You're not punishing him. You're protecting yourself. You're choosing dignity over desperation. And that choice changes everything. Self-respect means you don't chase what walks away from you. You don't lower your standards just to keep someone comfortable. You don't argue with someone who's already made up their mind. Silence becomes your boundary. It becomes your way of saying, if you don't see my worth, I won't convince you. And that's powerful because nothing confuses a man more than a woman who refuses to beg for a seat at a table she already deserved. Silence also allows you to heal. When you stop talking, you start listening to yourself. You begin to hear your own needs, your own pain, your own strength. You stop reacting and start responding with wisdom. And while he may think your silence means you don't care, the truth is you care enough about yourself not to lose your pride trying to hold on to someone who let go. A woman with self-respect understands this. Rejection doesn't reduce her value, it simply redirects her path. Silence helps her walk that path with grace. It keeps her from saying things she might regret and doing things that would cost her self-worth. It gives her space to rise instead of crumble. In the end, silence is not about him at all. It's about you choosing peace over chaos, dignity over drama, and strength over fear. When you stay silent, you are telling the world and yourself that your value does not depend on someone else's acceptance. And that realization is the beginning of true power. Rejection hurts his ego more when you don't beg or chase, because deep down a man expects pursuit. When he pulls away, he assumes you will come after him, trying to prove your worth, trying to change his mind. That expectation feeds his ego. It tells him he still has power over your emotions. But the moment you don't chase, the moment you don't ask for explanations or closure, something shifts inside him. His confidence takes a hit because now he's not the prize anymore. Now he's just the one who walked away. Men are wired to feel validated by being wanted. When you chase, you confirm that validation. You make him feel important, even if he treated you carelessly. But when you refuse to chase, you remove that emotional reward. Your absence becomes louder than any message you could send. He starts wondering why you didn't fight harder, why you didn't try to convince him, why you didn't beg him to stay. And that curiosity slowly turns into discomfort. Not chasing doesn't mean you didn't care. It means you cared enough about yourself to maintain your dignity. It means you understand that real desire cannot be forced. If a man truly wants you, he won't need to be chased. He will move toward you naturally. And when he doesn't, chasing only teaches him that he can walk away without consequences. Silence and stillness after rejection make him sit with his decision. There's no distraction, no emotional noise to soften the impact. He has to face the reality that he chose to lose access to you. And that's when regret often shows up, not immediately, but quietly over time, when he sees you moving on without drama, without bitterness, without chasing. It unsettles him because now he has to question his own value instead of yours. By not chasing, you reclaim control over your emotional space. You stop investing energy where it's no longer returned. You stop shrinking yourself to fit someone else's uncertainty. That self-control becomes your strength. It tells him you are not desperate for validation, and it tells yourself that you are whole on your own. In the end, not chasing is a form of self-love. It's choosing growth over attachment, peace over panic, and self-respect over temporary attention. When you walk away calmly, you don't just protect your heart. You leave a lasting impression that no amount of chasing ever could. A man expects a reaction because reaction is how he measures control. When he pulls back, ignores you, or rejects you, he is watching closely to see what you will do next. Will you call? Will you text? Will you explain yourself? Will you demand answers? In his mind, any reaction means he still has influence over your emotions. That influence gives him comfort, even if he doesn't want the relationship anymore. Control is familiar. Control feeds the ego. But calm silence disrupts that entire system. When you don't react, when you don't rush to be heard, when you don't try to fix what he broke, you remove the control he assumed he had. Now he's confused because the script in his head didn't go this way. He expected noise. He expected effort. He expected proof that he mattered more than your self-respect. And when that proof doesn't come, it shakes him. Silence forces him to sit with uncertainty. He doesn't know what you're thinking. He doesn't know if you're hurt, angry, relieved, or already moving on. And that not knowing is uncomfortable because control depends on predictability, and your calm silence makes you unpredictable. He can't read you anymore. He can't manage you. He can't feel secure in the idea that you'll always be there waiting. What makes this powerful is not anger or punishment, but peace. Calm silence says, I'm not reacting from emotion, I'm responding from strength. It tells him that you are not operating on impulse. You are not desperate by someone who chose not to understand you. And that level of emotional discipline is intimidating to someone who expected power. Men often mistake calm for indifference. But calm silence is not coldness, it is clarity. It is a woman deciding not to hand over her emotional remote control to someone who no longer deserves it. When you stay calm, you show that your world does not collapse because one person walked away. And that realization hits harder than any argument ever could. Your silence rewrites the dynamic. Suddenly, he's the one replaying conversations. He's the one wondering if he misjudged you. He's the one feeling the absence of your energy, your attention, your presence. And that absence speaks louder than words because it reminds him that control was never guaranteed, it was borrowed. When you choose calm silence, you take your power back without announcing it. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need closure from someone who already closed the door. Your peace becomes the message, and that message lingers far longer than any reaction ever would. A man expects a reaction after rejection because reaction is what feeds his ego. He expects you to chase, to explain, to question, and even to plead. When a man rejects you, he is looking for confirmation that he still has control over your emotions. That control is familiar to him, even comforting, because it allows him to feel important and needed, even when he doesn't want the relationship. But when you choose silence instead of reaction, you disrupt everything he thought he had. Silence is not absence, it is presence in its strongest form. It is quiet power that cannot be argued with, bargained with, or manipulated. Silence forces him to face reality in a way that noise never can. When you don't chase, don't beg, and don't demand answers, he begins to question himself. He wonders why you are not reacting like he expected. He wonders if he misjudged the situation. He wonders if he has lost something valuable. That uncertainty is heavy because human beings, especially men in relationships, struggle with not knowing. Your silence becomes louder than any words you could have spoken. It speaks volumes about your self-worth and your dignity, and it unsettles him more than any confrontation ever could. Not chasing doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care about yourself more than you care about proving something to someone else. It means you understand that real love and respect cannot be forced or begged for. When a man sees that you are calm, composed, and unaffected by his rejection, he realizes that your attention, your love, and your presence are not automatic privileges. They are choices, and the choice to give them has consequences. That realization can stir regret, frustration, and even longing because he now understands what he walked away from, and you didn't have to say a single word to teach him that lesson. Silence is also an act of self-preservation. It allows you to protect your emotional energy from being drained. It allows you to focus on yourself, your growth, and your happiness rather than wasting time convincing someone to value you. It teaches patience, self-respect, and the art of walking away gracefully. By remaining silent, you maintain your integrity and refuse to shrink to fit someone else's uncertainty. You demonstrate that your worth is inherent, not conditional on someone else's recognition. The power of silence lies in its ability to create reflection. While he may initially feel unaffected, over time your quiet strength will make him reconsider his actions, his choices, and even himself. Your absence will make him aware of what he has lost, not in a confrontational or dramatic way, but in a subtle, undeniable manner. And while he is busy questioning, replaying, and feeling the weight of your silence, you continue to rise, undisturbed, unbothered, and fully aware of your own value. That is the true strength of choosing silence after rejection. A man expects a reaction after rejection because reaction is the measure of control he believes he holds. He anticipates that you will chase, argue, explain yourself, or even beg for his attention. That expectation is not about love or care. It is about ego. He wants to see that he still has influence over your emotions because control makes him feel important and needed, even when he has chosen to walk away. But when you respond with silence instead of reaction, you dismantle the foundation of that control. Silence is not absence. It is presence in its most powerful form. It communicates strength without words, calm without drama, and dignity without apology. When you stay silent, you force him to face a reality he never expected. Your lack of reaction removes the reassurance he counted on. He begins to wonder why you are not chasing, why you are not seeking validation, why you are not proving your worth to him. That uncertainty makes him uncomfortable because control depends on predictability, and your silence disrupts the script he wrote for you. Suddenly, he cannot manage your emotions, and the certainty that gave him confidence begins to crumble. The absence of your noise speaks louder than any argument, message, or confrontation ever could. Choosing not to chase is not about indifference. It is about self-respect. It is about knowing your value and refusing to compromise your dignity to satisfy someone else's ego. When a man sees that you are composed, calm, and undisturbed by his rejection, he begins to realize that your attention and your love are not automatic. They are privileges, and the decision to give them carries weight. Your calm presence communicates that you are whole on your own, and that lesson is far more impactful than any emotional outburst or desperate plea. Silence also serves as a shield, protecting your emotional energy from being drained. It allows you to focus on your own growth, your happiness, and your peace, instead of wasting time trying to convince someone else to appreciate what you naturally offer. By choosing silence, you maintain your integrity and refuse to shrink yourself to fit someone else's uncertainty. You demonstrate that your self-worth is inherent, not dependent on the approval or attention of someone who failed to recognize it. You reclaim your power simply by not giving it away. The subtle power of silence lies in its ability to create reflection. While he may initially feel unaffected, over time your quiet strength forces him to reconsider his choices, his actions, and even his own behavior. Your absence becomes a mirror, reflecting what he lost in leaving you. And while he is busy questioning, replaying moments, and feeling the void your silence leaves, you continue to rise unbothered, undisturbed, and fully aware of your own value. Silence teaches a lesson that words cannot convey. It is the ultimate expression of strength, self-respect, and wisdom, showing that sometimes the loudest impact comes from saying nothing at all. A man expects a reaction after rejection because reaction is how he gauges control. He assumes that when he pulls away, ignores you, or rejects you, you will chase him, question him, or beg for his attention. That expectation is not about love or respect, it is about ego. He wants to see that he still has influence over your emotions because that influence reassures him of his importance, even when he no longer wants the relationship. But when you respond with silence instead of reaction, you dismantle that entire expectation. Silence is not absence, it's presence in its most powerful, unshakable form. It communicates strength without words, composure without drama, and dignity without apology. It is the quiet demonstration that you are not a commodity to be validated by someone else's whims. Silence forces him to confront a reality he never anticipated. Without your emotional response, he loses the reassurance he counted on. He begins to question why you are not chasing him, why you are not begging, why you are not trying to prove your worth to him. That uncertainty weighs on him because control depends on predictability. Your silence disrupts his expectations and leaves him without the answers he assumed he would get. Suddenly, he cannot read you, cannot influence you, cannot feel secure in the idea that you will always be there waiting. That discomfort is far more powerful than confrontation or argument because it attacks the illusion of control he thought he held. Choosing silence after rejection is not indifference, it is self-respect. It is knowing your value and refusing to diminish it to satisfy someone else's ego. When he sees that you are calm, composed, and unaffected by his decision, he begins to understand that your attention, your love, and your presence are not automatic, they are privileges. He realizes that walking away from you has consequences, not because you demanded them, but because your calm presence demonstrates your independence and worth. Your silence teaches him a lesson no words could ever convey. It communicates that your life does not revolve around his decisions, and your happiness is not dependent on his validation. Silence is also a form of self-preservation. It protects your emotional energy and allows you to focus on your own growth, peace, and happiness. By choosing silence, you stop investing time, energy, and emotion into someone who refuses to recognize your worth. You maintain your integrity, refuse to shrink yourself to fit his uncertainty, and assert that your value is inherent, not conditional. Your calm demeanor becomes a shield against manipulation, drama, and unnecessary pain. It empowers you to move forward while leaving him to grapple with the absence he created. The impact of silence extends beyond the immediate moment. While he may initially feel unaffected, over time your quiet strength forces him to reflect on his choices and his actions. Your absence becomes a mirror reflecting what he lost. He replays conversations, questions his decisions, and feels the weight of your dignity without ever hearing a single word from you. Meanwhile, you continue to rise unshaken, confident, and fully aware of your own value. Your silence communicates a profound truth, control, validation, and emotional power are not given, they are earned. By remaining silent, you reclaim your power, demonstrate your strength, and teach a lesson in dignity, patience, and self-respect that words could never match. In the end, silence is not emptiness. It is the loudest expression of wisdom and strength, proving that sometimes saying nothing has the most powerful impact of all.